helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This hour of the Sean Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Sean Thompson. And this is the Sean Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag.
Losers will never, ever accept winners. You understand that? So when you have an economy that is being turned back over to the people, it's called reprivatizing the economy, who's going to argue? All the scam artists who were in on the government spending. That's what Trump is doing, and that's why the media hates him. That's why the communists hate him, the socialists, the Marxists, and all the Democrats who aspire to be smart enough to be a Marxist, but they're really stupid. Except when it comes to getting away with stealing, then they're brilliant. How about the Somalians? 59. The whole Somalia, the average IQ is 59. My Boston Terrier was 62. And yet they all get away with stealing billions. E.J. Antoni is here, debonair. I knew that the vest was going to have lapels. Somewhere Prop owes me $5 because he's going to try and pull it off. He'll have a sweater vest on, but he's just going to look like that smart dog from the cartoon. You, on the other hand, a young Basil Rathbone, doctor of economics, E.J. Antoni. How are you, sexy?
Sean, it is great to be here in person. We were just saying during the break, it's been probably 2-3 years since I've seen you in person.
You came over at the cigar store. I thought I was being audited. Kicked the door in. You were all dressed up with a tie on in a cigar store where we only watched movies and complained and never let a Democrat in. So that's how I knew it was going to be a good experience then, as it has been since then. How long have you been coming on my show? I mean, I was filling in. First time I had John, it's got to be 6, 7 years.
I was just going to say, 4 or 5 years. It's been a while. And trust me, it's been a pleasure, Sean.
Oh, well, listen, and we've been fighting the Leviathan. This is something you do when you understand the economics of a swindle and a scandal. And the problem with Americans, we thought the government was going to take care of its problem rather than understanding the government was the problem. And it's funny to watch how that's turned now to where some 33-year-old punk would almost try to make fun of Ronald Reagan's, I'm here from the government, or I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. And he's going to pretend that the American government is going to help you. Now, I'm offended because, not because he's making fun of Reagan. After all, we've watched that in real time. I watched that as a kid. But because he's trying to pretend that socialism, communism, and Marxism ends in a different way. It doesn't. It's always economic devastation. Why do we allow these kids who never worked, he lived with his mother. He went from his mother's house, never worked a day in his rat bastard life, to the mayor's mansion. And it really is a mansion. This is the problem. There are no qualifications needed to be elected. In fact, all you have to do is be a bulldog artist, don't you?
Yeah, but here's the problem. Their ideas sound good, right? They don't work. Trust me, they don't work. You know that, I know that. But they sound good. It's like, look what's happened with student loans and what they've done in the big, beautiful bill, where they actually put a cap in place on graduate loans. It was uncapped back in 2006 under Obama.
Yeah.
And so what happened once they removed the cap on student loans? The idea was we're going to make graduate school more affordable. All these people are going to be able to go back and get degrees, and they can get better jobs, have higher incomes. What happened? All these colleges just simply raised the cost of attendance.
Sure.
And now what has happened with there being a cap put in place, courtesy of the big, beautiful bill? Now all of a sudden you have a bunch of degree programs that are magically coming in just under that cap.
Well, and what I think we need to do, and when I say we, I mean the anti-communist, the anti-Marxist, the anti-mafia Democrat, we have to explain that it's a chicken and egg scenario where the policy for theft is actually created by the same fairy tale swindler that tells you the lie. So it's the Mandomni government, it's the Obama government, it's the communist and Marxist in the position to craft the policy to be stolen where the acorn is born, where the problem occurs. Without the policy being created, the swindle couldn't happen. So really, to focus on the guy telling you it's going to be great, because he's crafting the policy to be stolen and profited, whether it's the free idea of student tuition or it's free groceries in New York. That grocery store will never not only be profitable, it's not intended to, it will be a vestibule of theft where they'll steal and increase the cost of all groceries 300%.
Right, and whether it's groceries, whether it's, I mean, look at some of the other things that Mandami campaigned on and continues talking about, like childcare. Why is it groceries are more expensive in Manhattan? And obviously the other boroughs too, but why is it that's more expensive there? Why is it things like childcare are so expensive? It's all the additional regulations that New York City puts in place that other places simply don't have. And so you impose that additional cost onto business, they're forced to pass that cost on to consumers, and then the consumer wonders, why is everything so expensive? And the very people who put those programs in place, who put those regulations in place, the very people who caused your life to become more expensive now have the audacity to say, well, I have a fix for this problem. It is nothing less than the arsonist playing fireman.
And we have the fix, and we're living through it. This is something that my show gives it attention. This station shows Alex Marlowe, Dan Proft, and everybody else gives it attention. But there is a certain beauty to what is happening. And what that is everybody is waking up, and everybody is understanding what's at stake, and the migration to the boom belt, the migration to the states that are not imposing income tax, from the totalitarian, corrupted, failed states. And what I think is going to happen, and I believe it's happening before our eyes, especially in New York, especially in Washington State, in Oregon, and California, and Illinois, I believe the convenience that capitalism brought, they will leave as well. It will not be long. It's not just the Walgreens that are closing because they're being robbed. It's not just the CVS's that are being consolidated. It's the Amazons. It's the convenience of mass capitalists. It's the Starbucks. It's the other things people believe that they're just there because they should be. Mm-hmm. They're going to migrate to the good states. I really see a business vacuum, or I believe these Marxists in Chicago came up with a new word, corporate abandonment. This is going to happen on turbocharge. As people realize, this is what I thought would happen the first Obama term. Capitalists should unite under principle. Atlas should be shrugging. They should be burning down the refineries when you see that Illinois makes $1.30 in taxes when the refiner makes 15 cents. Before I made the 15 cents and allowed the government to steal that kind of money, I'd burn the refinery down. You can do it with logistics, can't you?
Sean, I think we're seeing it in real time, right? You are seeing that movement. It's not just a matter of people, individuals getting up and moving. They are taking their businesses with them. Again, we're seeing it, I think, in real time, and you're seeing these, let's call them what they are, these crime-ridden hellholes most of our cities have become. You are seeing countless businesses simply close their doors because there is no way to be profitable. How many Walgreens have had to close in inner cities in America where it wasn't enough to literally lock up every item in the inventory? They were still losing money because of theft. And look at something like the pending home sale data that we got today. So overall nationwide activity is down by about a quarter compared to 25 years ago. Think of that, a quarter of a century later and 25% less activity. The only region that hasn't seen a dramatic decline, it's the South. They're still down about 8 or 9%. But again, it's that boom belt that you're talking about. Even in a terrible real estate market, they're still at least getting by.
And what's fascinating is that when they give us these big numbers, these blanket numbers, like GDP, they don't break down. I mean, we do it because we're policy wonks and we're addicted to facts and truth. But they don't talk about the difference in the quality of growth of actual business and productivity in very Democrat mafia states like Illinois. Illinois' GDP, they're complaining about the country being at 3%, 3 change. Illinois is 1 if you're lucky. And the vast majority of any of that growth traces back to government spending. Private sectors do not grow in Democrat states. Only government And the spending is growth. It's the other good states that carry and drag along these suckhole Democrat states. And this needs to be focused on, because the problem is you destroy the quality of life because you allow that lie to be told to good people in bad areas.
And Sean, you raised such a great point with the distinction there between public and private jobs. And it's something that people, I think, really miss. It's a big reason why you got to drill down into these numbers. There are literally fewer private sector jobs in Illinois right now than there were right before the pandemic. I mean, here we are more than 6 years later, and the private sector in this state still hasn't recovered. So where has all the job growth come from? First of all, there hasn't even been much net job growth. Even if you include government jobs, the job level is basically flat over those 6 years. But again, if the private sector's down, that means any of the growth you have gotten on net had to have come from the public sector. It's just more government bureaucrats.
And when you look at COVID, now what we know, we knew it then. COVID was a bioweapon. COVID was financed by the American government. COVID was released on the world. But really, is that the scandal, or is the scandal the money that followed? When you look at the kind of money that these states got, like Illinois, you're talking trillions of dollars, man, not billions, not even hundreds of billions, because it came in hidden ways. It came not just in the ways up front that these corrupt states pretended was revenue, called themselves balanced. It came in backdoor ways of PPP loans, the government employees that have stolen the loans. Now you're getting an idea. Healthcare system that had been knuckled under and destroyed, 50% less hospitals and doctors. Yet when that money was handed out, who reaped the rewards? Were the most corrupt states like Illinois and New York and California. Do we know, not just the Minnesota scandals and feeding our future and nonsense scandals, but do we know just the difference in money that was given to Democrat mafia bankrupt states versus the other states that really didn't need it, and most of them didn't shut down, like Florida?
It was basically a wealth transfer of about $400 billion under the Biden administration. Just the first couple of COVID relief packages that they did, that was the disparity in terms of the government financing that was going to these blue states versus the red states. Literally $400 billion. And as time goes on, we keep finding out more and more and more of that money was exactly what you're saying, Sean. It was nothing but fraud. It was all of these scams, whether it was PPP or whether it was unemployment insurance fraud. I mean, you name it, the list goes on and on. And again, it's as if every week or every month that goes by, they find, now that we're actually looking for it,
yes,
they continue to find more and more of these crazy abuses. But it literally was, again, it was a wealth transfer measured in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And frankly, it's a big reason why the economies in states like Illinois, like Massachusetts, like New York, have really lagged behind the national growth since COVID. You were literally paying all of these people not to work. You were paying businesses to stay shut down. Why is anyone surprised then that there was no productivity, that there was no growth?
Well, what else is fascinating? We say transfer of wealth, and it's a great way to pose it, right? But the old way to transfer the wealth was to take from taxpayers and give to tax takers, right? That was the old way. We've got this new explosion of unfettered financial responsibility and reality. You're not taking it anymore from the guys like me and you and the listeners and the business owners. You're literally taking it from the future in the form of debt. I think it's even way more diabolical, and it explains so much of the $30 trillion that was added on since Barack Obama became president. I mean, that is something that I think always has to be hammered home. There's a new way to steal money versus the old Soviet way. If the Soviets could print money the way America does, they would have never went bankrupt. They'd be the biggest superpower. They'd be us because we became them. That's what happened, isn't it?
Yeah, and Sean, you're absolutely right. It is all this spending is a tax on future generations. It is. We're stealing from kids and grandkids 100%. But the other thing I think is really important for people to remember is the fact that while the debt is a tax on future generations, inflation, which we're using to pay off some of that debt,
permanent tax.
Right, and it's a tax today. It is paid today on today's wage earners, on today's savers.
Yeah.
That is something that is, it's not going to wait for future generations. We are all paying that penalty right now.
And who could hide behind that financial crime? The best are the very swindlers who tax it. Never forget, it's the Democrats that tax inflation on top of the problem of inflation. It's fracking infuriating.
Yeah.
It's infuriating to realize that it's the swindler Illinois that taxes the inflation, that taxes the excuse of a problem, and then reaps more reward for it, proving beyond the shadow of a doubt Democrats don't hate inflation, they pray for it.
Oh, 100%. It's what finances how much of their spending, right? Not only directly, but also indirectly, like you're talking about. How much of capital gains today? People talk about how great their investments did under Biden. Are you kidding me? How much of your investments, the so-called growth there, was simply inflation? You're going to get taxed on that when you actually cash out. Your capital gains are not indexed to inflation. And then you have states like here in Illinois where your gas tax, not only do you pay that per gallon tax, but because you pay a percentage, every time inflation drives up that cost, it's going to now continue to increase the tax revenue for the government. And that's before we even get into things like property taxes and real estate.
So the way to change it is to grow out of it. This is what Trump, Bessent, this is what they understand. There is one way out of it on top of another way. And it's the other way I think needs to be focused. So you reprivatize the economy, you grow out of it, but you also change the supply chain of the most important commodity in the universe, oil. They've done that. They went back, they took control of the Panama Canal. They took control of the cartel front called Venezuela. They've now crushed the theocracy that has been the distributor, the main theocracy, but along with that, the Middle East in general, and made America the new supplier of the most important product. So we can grow. We can solve that problem, but we also can renegotiate and refinance the debt. Why don't they have the courage to start that? If debt has been monetized and you had to make up a buyer, my offer to you is this: nothing in the form of interest. I give you 0% return on money that the Federal Reserve illegitimately, without a vote, created a buyer to then steal 4%, 5%, who knows what percent, because we're not privy to that. They're stealing that percentage on trillions of dollars. It's big money, kid. They'll all be wearing vests with lapels.
So here's the problem now. It's big money, absolutely, but you know it's even bigger money? What the Fed is paying in interest to the banks. That's what you have to. Unfortunately, if you want to set up a system where you're going to essentially have the Fed loan the money to the Treasury and not pay the Fed interest because the Fed's creating the money out of nothing. It took nothing to it took no effort, in other words, to create that money. Okay, that's fine, but first you have to stop the Fed from paying interest to the banks. Right now, they are literally paying hundreds of millions of dollars a day in interest to financial institutions, courtesy of the new system that Jerome Powell set up. So Warsh is going to have to, I think, completely undo that entire monetary framework before we can even start having conversations like that.
Now, we know that the people in the Trump administration are experts in this arena. We know that, at least for now, this administration understands the magnitude of the problem. But you know, living in Washington, D.C., which I like to call Caligula for nerds, how many, and I'm serious when I ask you this, how many of the senators that are elected and the congressmen that are elected could listen to our last segment and understand what we talk about? In a fair estimate, how many of the elected so-called representative could understand what we were just talking about?
In whole numbers?
Yeah.
You can count
535 elected liars and frauds and suck-ons.
You could count it on one hand, I'm sure.
Isn't that the real issue?
I won't say who, but people can probably guess who it is. Pick one of the most outspoken members you know in Congress on the Federal Reserve who talks about the need for Fed reform, even ending the Fed and other such things.
Is it Aunt Esther? It's Aunt Esther. Maxine Waters. That wig is crooked, stupid.
I don't know if she can spell Fed, let alone Federal Reserve, or know how it operates.
The head of the Finance Committee for 100 years. You got to be fragging.
So I'm at dinner with this particular person in Congress, and I thought for sure this would be the guy who knows the Fed in and out because of how much he talks about it. And then I actually start talking to him about the Fed and realize He doesn't know the first thing about the central bank, how it works, how to reform it, et cetera. And that's when you start to realize
you're talking about Rand Paul. Oh, my word. It's even worse, people.
Look, these people are professionals at getting elected, first and foremost. And after that, they know what their staff tells them and very little beyond that.
That's disheartening. You know, we were at an event with Rand Paul, Freedom Summit, and I was excited because I had paid attention to his father. And if his father looked like Mitt Romney, we wouldn't be in this fracking problem. If Ron Paul didn't look like Orville Redenbacher on meth, this whole country would be better off. However, he was too ugly to get elected outside of Congress, and he understood it. I feared that Rand didn't. We had a nice conversation, an affable guy. But when we started to talk about the financial crime of paying interest to a fictitious buyer, I could see he wasn't. The magnitude of that is all the money stolen. My allegation is very simple. When the Federal Reserve creates a fake buyer, the Federal Reserve Board, whoever is the upper echelon, whoever makes up those you're stealing the fragging money, and nobody voted for you to create that buyer. That's a financial crime.
And see, this is why during the Civil War, Lincoln fought tooth and nail against the banking cartel that wanted to set up basically a pseudo-central bank that would do this, that would lend the government money, create it out of nothing, but then collect interest. And then it would use those government bonds and turn around and use it as collateral for loans in the private sector to then charge private borrowers interest. So they literally were getting paid interest on money created out of nothing, but got paid interest twice. And that's basically how the banking system still operates today. And Lincoln fought that tooth and nail. Yeah. He said there's no reason the government should be paying interest on money that someone literally can just create out of nothing with no effort whatsoever.
And who's the main family in on it all? The Rockefellers. The Rockefellers are the ones that own I don't think it's ever really been disclosed who's the primary holders of the Federal Reserve, the creature from Jekyll Island, except for the fantastic book that was written and the story that was told. However, the family that really is unbelievable when it comes to money loss is the Vanderbilts. The Vanderbilts, people do not realize the money that they squandered through stupidity. And what happened? The grandson has a show on MS-13. Anderson Cooper. No wonder he changed his name, that frackin' moron. Hey, Anderson, what do you think is no sentence any human being should ever speak to anybody who is a legacy of the Vanderbilts? What do you think? Yeah, don't even comment on that. You want to go back to Washington without being arrested. 312-642-5600. We're going to be back. I might have EJ stick around to take some of your calls. We'll be back after this.
This is the Sean Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, most of us spend our entire lives in the paycheck mode. You work, you get 30% taken from the G, you pay your bills, repeat, and rinse. And that's how time goes by. Then all of a sudden you're old. Retirement hits. Suddenly, you're the one who has to figure out your paycheck that isn't there anymore. Markets are bumpy, prices are up, things can get stressful real fast. That's why having a real income plan matters. Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group can help you build a